this video, we're going to discuss certificate management services in Ruckus One. Ruckus One's certificate management features are designed to enhance security, streamline administration, and support compliance with industry standards. Using R1 certificate management, organizations can centrally manage digital certificates, including configuration of certificate authorities. We can standardize using certificate templates, and we can manage device and server certificates. R1 certificates can be utilized for single sign-on, Radius, and 802.1x authentication, as well as simplified device enrollment via Chromebook integration, as well as Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol, or SCEP. I'm not going to walk through every configuration that can be done with regards to certificates, but we are going to outline a scenario in which we want our device to actually authenticate using certificates on R1. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Network Control Service Catalog. From here, I'm going to select Certificate Management. At the top of the wizard, it's got some options to choose from, and by default, it is wanting to create a device certificate, but you actually need a device template to create a device certificate off of. So you can see that you can select between certificate and template here. I can also create a CA definition, so I can set up a certificate authority, or I can set up a server and client certificate. I actually need to set up the certificate authority first before we can get started with the rest of this. So I'm going to choose CA and then choose Next. Now I've got three options to choose from. By default, it is set to generate a new root certificate authority. We can also set up an intermediate certificate authority by selecting the second radio button here, or we could upload existing root or intermediate certs if we had them. I'm actually going to go ahead and set up a root certificate authority. And again, this is just for devices connecting into R1. We're not going to be using this root certificate anywhere else for any other purpose other than device certificates for these R1 networks. Filling out the required fields, I've got the certificate authority name, the common name. I've left the validity period default, but this can be adjusted. I've left the default key length as 2048, as well as the default algorithm, which you can change here. And then I filled out the properties for this certificate authority. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Add. And we now see the Acme root certificate authority with no templates applied. The next step is to create a device certificate template that maps to this certificate authority. I'm going to click on Device Certificates and then click on the Templates tab and choose Add Certificate Template. So I've given the certificate template a name. I've issued a common name at device.acme.co, and then I do need to select an identity group. I've already created the identity group, and it is just a blank identity group. There's nothing else tied to it. This is where all of the devices that utilize this template are going to be placed into, so you could manage the devices later on. I could optionally set up some policies to add to this, but I'm not going to do so at this time. I'm going to go ahead and choose Next. Now I need to select my certificate authority that I created in the previous step. I'm going to select Acme root here. And then we had talked about Chromebook enrollment earlier in the video. This is one of the main use cases for certificates within R1. If you had a Chromebook deployment and you wanted to onboard those Chromebooks with certificates, you can actually enable this here, and the Chrome plugins are going to allow seamless integration so that those certificates are applied automatically when we're connecting into the network. The way that I'm going to be doing this right now is not through Chromebook, however, so I'm going to be utilizing a more manual process. Under Show More Settings, we can see that there are options to adjust the validity period, change certificate strengths, and set up some additional organization info. I don't need any of that stuff right now, so I'm going to go ahead and choose Next. On the summary screen, I'm going to just verify everything that I have selected and choose Add. With our device template here, we could just click on that and get some additional information about certificates that were utilizing this template. If we had those SCEP keys, we could manage them here, as well as Chromebook enrollment could be managed from within this certificate template. The next step for us is actually going to be to create a Wi-Fi network that utilizes this template. So this is going to be an enterprise AAA 802.1x network. I'm going to go ahead and choose next here. And under the security protocol, I'm going to leave it as WPA2, but I'm going to choose to use the certificate auth. And then I'm going to choose that certificate template that we just created. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose next. And I'm going to apply this to my venue that I want this on and go ahead and add the network. Now that we have our certificate authority mapped to a device template that is utilizing identity groups and then tied to a Wi-Fi network, we're ready to add that to a workflow so that users can actually connect into this network. We talked about workflows in a previous video, and in this video, instead of using DPSK3, we have the step of install a certificate. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that section and choose edit just so you can see what we've got here. So you can see our Acme cert template and our identity group within this step. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. It's already been saved. I'm going to go ahead and close, and then I'm going to publish this workflow. And then I'm ready to connect to the network using the onboarding workflow. I'm going to go ahead and click on the URL for this particular workflow that is using the certificate just to start the process and show you how it works. I'm not going to run through the whole thing because on the Windows computer side, it is a little bit different. Again, we have that Chromebook integration that makes this really seamless. So you can see we've got a certificate file password here that I'm going to copy off. And when I click on this QR code here, it is actually going to download the P12 certificate for me. And you can see here kind of cut off that we've got the certificate file. So I'm going to install this on the back end. And then I'm going to connect to the Wi-Fi network named Acme CertNet. Then we're going to jump back into the certificate view and kind of look at the device and the certificate that is managed through R1. With my Windows device successfully onboarded, I'm going to go up to Network Control, My Services, and select Certificate Management. From the Templates tab, we get an overview of that Acme Cert template. I'm going to go ahead and click over to the Certificates tab, where we can see that we have two certificates that were deployed. Only one of them is currently in use, and that is my DBFF certificate. If I click on the certificate, I get the certificate information coming in from the right-hand side. And again, I can download these certificates for additional use. And we are also seeing the identity mapped to the certificate. So if I click on the identity for the certificate, I would be taken over to the identity group for this particular certificate. Once we select the certificate, we can see that we can revoke it and unrevoke it. So you can manage the certificates directly from here as well. Let's go ahead and click on that identity group link, and we are taken over to the identity details. We are associated with one device here. If we click on that, we can get some device information, how long we've been connected, what the host name is, OS, things like that. And then again, from the certificates, we are able to see the certificate details, that it is valid, it's not revoked, if it was revoked, when it was revoked, when it expires, etc. So again, we can manage those certificates from even within the identity group here as well. Hopefully this provides you a good overview on how to get started with certificate services in Ruckus One.